Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is, I'm sure you can guess, the Grumpy Old Man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. This is a twice-a-week sports podcast that happens every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you like this content, the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action is, number one, by subscribing on YouTube, liking on Facebook, and following on Twitter. And if you enjoy the content too, right, leave a thumbs up, leave a little thumbs up on YouTube, on Facebook. And again, it helps the algorithm, from what I understand.
Is that what you understand?
Yeah, Jesus, Grumpy. Nothing like getting ready at the last second, Grump. We know who we were waiting on today. It wasn't me. It was the Grumpy Old Man for once.
You were late as usual.
Likely story, Grump. Likely story. There's quite a few things to talk about in the world of sports, Grumpy. I'll tell you that much. We've got some more name, image, and likeness news. What a shock. Nick Saban making news once again. He's clapping, he was coming at Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M clap back at Nick Saban. And there were some interesting developments from ex-players that had a relationship or had dealt with Nick Saban in the past that is starting to come up. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how that unfolds here over the next little bit. We'll talk about the NHL Playoffs. Very interesting and exciting games that have occurred as of recent. We're also going to go ahead and cover the relegation battle. Premier League. Look what's important, Grump. Look right there. Burnley Football Club, Grumpy. It's going to come down to the last day. Day.
Okay, no one cares about the Premier League relegation battle. No one. If you're asking people, anyone, that's like even in Burnley, people don't care about it.
Well, Burnley and Leeds United, because Everton today just went ahead and secured safety. Grumpy Old Man. But there's a lot to talk about. A little bit of NFL news. We'll talk about the Philadelphia Eagles signing James Bradbury as well, what that does for that team. I think they've made some great additions this offseason. We'll talk about that briefly. There's a lot to go over. So again, strap in. Did you happen to hear the comments, Grumpy Old Man, that Nick Saban made to Jimbo Fisher?
I did not hear the exact comments. I do know that he talked about it. And then he kind of backed off and kind of apologized later today. But I do not remember exactly what he said, but I have to admit that it was probably something where he regrets it now.
Yeah, long story short, it was like an open panel interview. It was like him and two other individuals that were asking him questions about, what he had thought about the recruiting class, what he thought about name, image, and likeness. And let me put it like this. He was unhappy. He felt that Texas A&M had bought the number one recruiting class. And, things always get overblown a little bit anytime you get in a situation like that. I think, obviously, he was trying to make a point. I think Nick Saban believes that, realistically, name, image, and likeness has gone completely out of hand, Grump. And that's kind of what you'll get to this point. And there's some other items, too, that he brings up. And let me put it like this. It makes the feud between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban even more highly, it's even more elevated than it was in the past. So I have to assume that is going to be much watched TV next year when Texas A&M plays Alabama.
I think that he's just upset that he didn't find a way to utilize it like the other schools did. That's the biggest thing that's upset him.
Well, let's go ahead and pull it up here. Now, I haven't listened to the 1 minute and 9 second long clip, but I have listened to it's like a little 13-second long snippet. So I'll let you listen to it, Grumpy, so you can get first exposed to it.
That's what I want. Recruiting last year, A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team, made a deal for name, image, and likeness. All right, we didn't buy one player. I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it. So if the NCAA doesn't get some protection from litigation, whether we got to get an antitrust or whatever it is, from a federal government standpoint, this is not going to change because they cannot enforce their rules. Just like Nate said, we have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it. I mean, these guys at Miami that are going to play basketball there for $400,000, it's in the newspaper. The guy tells you how he's doing it. So, but the NCAA can't enforce their rules because it's not against the law. And that's an issue. That's a problem. And unless we get something that protects them from litigation, I don't know what we're going to do about it.
So, Grump, want to ask initial thoughts on the Nick Saban comments. The Nick Saban here, the interview, the open panel interview. What do you think about that?
You almost have to break it down. First of all,
we'll go back and re-listen to it. Let me ask you first what you think about. We'll break it down.
Second in recruiting last year, A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team, made a deal for name, image, and likeness. All right, we didn't buy one player.
Okay,
let's stop there because I know that's one.
Absolutely, Alabama buys players every single year. They buy players every single year. What they don't like is that people are buying their players after they play for Alabama. But absolutely, certainly 100%, Alabama buys players just like all the big football schools do every single year. Alabama pays better than most. That's why they get the best prospects every year.
Well, you mentioned that, right? And it's funny. We've seen a few tweets from people who have played college football, played professionally, and didn't choose Alabama, didn't choose Nick Saban during that coaching time period. And let's put it like this. Just I'm sure as everybody could imagine, Alabama and every single one of those teams that are really good at football and just seem to have this knack to bring in top 10 recruiting class after recruiting class after recruiting class. Every single one of these, like, maybe they were paying their players. We've always said it since the start. They all pay their players. Newsflash, they all paid their players before name, image, and likeness. And Danny K here saying the best part of this.
Danny Cannell used to be a quarterback for Florida State.
He said the best part of this new name, image, and likeness era is that the backroom deal, the SEC coaches had to not rat one another out publicly, is now over. Everyone is open season.
Watch out, Nick Saban. Watch out.
Ex-Florida State star Travis Johnson responds to Nick Saban's A&M bought every player on their team, and he commented alleging that Alabama offered former five-star recruits six figures in the recruiting class of 2000. He said, you guys were the name, image, and likeness before the name, image, and likeness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sua Craven here says, I had schools offer me $10,000 to $20,000 just to visit, and all of them were southeast of Texas. Since people are lying, I'll speak from experience. Recruiting was unfair up until name, image, and likeness. Only the SEC was allowed to openly pay for talent, which is why they became so dominant over the last 13 years.
Absolutely. See, that's the whole thing. That's it in a nutshell right there. You're seeing it in a nutshell.
Armani Watts also said, are we not going to talk? Are we not going to talk about what was going on before name, image, and likeness, huh, Nick? Referring to Nick Saban.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a whole bunch of ex-players that had relationships and had been recruited by Alabama and other schools saying, it's funny. I remember I used to get an offer to get paid by you, Nick Saban, by Alabama. So it's funny that you're speaking like this.
I just hate when guys are hypocritical like that. I mean, everyone knows. It's an open secret that they're paying players. Absolutely an open secret.
Mm-hmm. It is, Grump. I don't know what's going on over there by you, but it is. So that was the first little section. Now let's continue here.
All right, but I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it. So if the NCAA doesn't get some protection from litigation, whether we got to get an antitrust or whatever it is, from a federal government standpoint, this is not going to change because they're not in.
Okay. Now we want to get the federal government involved. Here's the thing. You want to know why you don't want to get the federal government involved? Because the NCAA, right, they're afraid of litigation. Isn't that what I said just a couple of weeks ago, that they'd be afraid of litigation? Because they've been making money hand over fist from these kids and not paying them anything forever. There's no such thing as amateurism. It's a made-up thing by the NCAA. Absolutely made up. They've been benefiting off of these kids' backs forever. Absolutely forever. And I've said to you that as soon as they try to take away something like this or try to take something away that they've given the players, they're going to get their asses dragged right into court. And to say you want to get, again, why you want to have the federal government have to step in to deprive young men of making money when they're over 18 is just, it's ludicrous.
Here's the thing, right? I think that this is where you and I disagree, right? I've always said I'm fine if they want to try to institute some sort of, if you go ahead and sign a new name, image, and likeness deal, it's just a flat tax. A certain amount of that money that you've received in name, image, and likeness has to go to the team that you're leaving. I'm fine with that, right? The way transfers work in soccer, I'm fine with that, right? If you sign a $3 million deal, let's say 10% of that has to go to the team that you just left, right? Okay, well, they've got $300,000 to try to replace you. It's not going to cut a huge amount into your profit. Or here's another way. You could force players to sit out a year, the same way the old transfer rules used to be, right? Came from an era where you used to have to sit out a year if you transferred, unless you transferred down a division. That would change a lot of the dynamics too. If you want to get paid, that's fine. Get paid. You could sit on the sidelines next year and go ahead and cash in on $3 million, but you're going to have to sit out a year once you transfer. There are ways to look at this. They should not look at the way of stripping players of all their money. I think 10%, right? If you're going to give it 10%, that is reasonable. I think so.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. That's the way you think. That's fine. Get ready to go to court. You said make the kids sit out. You realize they just gave the athletes 2 years ago the right. You know, first of all, it's arbitrary that they said you can't transfer. Okay. You have to sit out a year. What was that? That was done to protect the schools, right? The schools that are making all the money off of these kids. Let me finish.
Hold on.
Let me finish.
You just made an incorrect statement. They said that you cannot transfer. That's not
correct. You have to sit out a year. You have to sit out a year.
That is correct.
That harms the player. That harms the player and his ability to earn money. That's what it does.
How so?
That's because now they're not playing. They're not out there for pro scouts to show what they can do if they have to sit out a year. But here's the thing. That's what it used to be. They gave it to them. They gave them that right. Okay, which they should have had all along, but they gave it to them. Now, let's say that they say, okay, well, we want to take that back now. You know what they're going to see? Restraint to trade, because all they're trying to do is stop it. Who's going to pay somebody name and image and likeness if they have to sit out a year?
That's fine. Guess what? You're going to have to sit out a year. You can get paid as much as you want.
You know what? Here's what they should do.
Stop. I let you speak. Give me a second. Let me make my counter argument. You're going to say now name, image, and likeness won't come around. If you're a freshman, or you're a sophomore, sit out a year, then play the next year after it. Go ahead and hone in on your craft. Get paid while you're doing it. Make yourself $3 million a year every single year. That's fine, but you'll have to sit out a year. No problem with it. I'm just saying that is an idea, right? That's a way that you can try to curb it. Players could still get paid too. You're still going to get paid. The reason you would leave is because they're willing to give you a huge name, image, and likeness deal. That's not going to go away. Guess what? That cat's out of the bag. Teams are they've paid players before. Now it's open and you can pay everybody. That's terrific. Making them sit out a year might be a way to go ahead and make them say,
you're wrong.
Let me see if I could go ahead and get a little closer. Let me see, you know what, if I make 800,000 here, you know what, I'd rather play. I'll make 800,000 here than making 3 million somewhere else and having to sit out a year.
Okay. You're flat out wrong. Because here's the thing. Guess what? These kids are not going to be offered the deals they're being offered if they don't get to play for that school next year. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be restraint to trade. As soon as they do that, right to court, and the NCAA will absolutely get bent over and butt fucked. That's what will happen to the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to flat out tell you, they'll lose every single case that goes up against them. They know it too. That's why they're not implementing anything. Who's talking big? It's the coaches, the guys who are losing the players. You know who's not talking big? The NCAA, because they know all this stuff that they've been doing for years and years and years, which has been illegal, by the way. Absolutely illegal. They're going to get called to the carpet for it. That's what's going to wind up happening.
Don't confuse.
Boom, bend them over.
Okay.
Bang.
You actually got to listen. Okay. Don't confuse the fact that they were doing, I definitely believe, right? Not paying the players is illegal. If you can earn money, you shouldn't say you can't under the guise of amateurism, right? That is definitely correct. That is wrong. No problem with that. That was wrong what they did in the past. And I wish there's no way they can make contrition for what they did in the past, unfortunately. But that was wrong. Here's the thing, though. They won't get taken to court. They won't be number one. Here's the thing. It's not like they're going to say, oh, well, hold on a second. It's illegal. It's federally illegal for you to make a kid sit out a year once you transfer. No, it's not. If you really don't want to sit out a year, then go play somewhere else.
If
you're going to make your money, if you want to transfer, this is an idea, right? Go back to sitting out a year, because this is what you can't have in college sports and athletics. You can't have every single offseason over 50% of your team entering the transfer portal and saying, who's willing to offer me more? Because guess what? Then it's like the NFL. If it's like the NFL, you should have to get penalized for trying to breach your contract. And if you try to leave your contract, it's not like if a Darrelle Revis says, the Jets aren't paying me enough, I'm going to go ahead and transfer over here to the Browns because they're giving me a better offer. No, you've signed the contract. You have to have something that's now contractually obligating you to stay with that team for 4 years. And if you want to leave, there has to be some sort of pitfall and safety for the college, just like there is for the NFL team. It's as simple as that. Okay. If they want to sit out, they don't have to play in college football. Make it like that too, right? If an NFL player doesn't want to play, he could sit out. That's good. You go ahead and sit out all you want there in college. There has to be some security for the colleges, because you can't have now every single year where 50% of the damn players on a team want to go ahead and enter the transfer portal because I can make $20,000 more if I go transfer to XYZ school.
The colleges make tens of millions of dollars every year on the backs of these players. And I'm going to tell you again,
I don't care what the colleges make.
As soon as you put restrictions that players can't play because if they sign a name, image, and likeness deal, it's going to dry up that money. Name, image, and likeness is not, people are not going to sign them a deal if they're not on the field. That's not going to happen, and that's going to be restraint to trade. And why do you think the NCAA is not going to the courts for this? Because they know they'd lose. They would absolutely get killed in the court of law. Killed.
Hold on. Again, what I'm suggesting here is this. If you are going to sign for the university now, I think there should be a change with the scholarship. Once you sign that university, right? And here's the other thing. These college teams technically have the ability to deny the right to transfer. Something they used to be. I'm not sure if that's still the case. That's something they used to be able to have the right to do. They could say, you could transfer to teams, but you can't transfer to any team in our conference. I think they still have that right. I'll have to look that up. But there has to be some sort of protection for the team. I don't give a crap I don't care if the college makes zero money from the athletics. I care less about that. All I'm talking about is for the stability of the sport, you're going to have a lot more sloppy football and sloppy play if every single year you've got different offensive linemen now out there, right? Oh, we can't keep 5 offensive linemen together because we just lost 5 of them there to the transfer portal because they could get paid more. Okay, and one went to California, one went to Texas, one went to Oklahoma, one went to Alabama. It's going to be tough to have continuity and have a solid team. All these teams that aren't the good teams are going to have all of their better players transferring to teams that can pay them more. And where does it leave the teams that are middle of the road programs? It leaves them with a stick in their hands. It leaves them just empty-handed. That's what I worry about. All the teams that are middle of the road teams now that will have no chance of competing against the top tier teams. There has to be some sort of protection for those middle of the road teams. Players need to get paid, and they should get paid, but there needs to be a healthy balance. I don't care if you make them pay a certain portion of the name, image, and likeness to the team that they leave. I'm fine with that. If you make them sit out, I'm fine with that. If you make them some sort of retribution if they leave after 1 year, I'm fine. There has to be something to protect the smaller schools. There has to be something to protect the Northwesterns. There has to be something to
Pittsburgh's, who lost their player. That's the reason you're butthurt over this whole thing. Let's be honest. Here's the thing.
That is the first one. There will be more of that ilk to come. Best wide receiver, plays spring ball, gets all the way to the end of the transfer window and says, hold on a second. I received a call earlier before I was in the transfer portal from USC and by Lincoln Riley. And they said they're willing to offer me $3 million to come there.
First of all, Lincoln Riley never called that player. He never called that player. Stop making up facts.
Okay. All I'm going to tell you is that was the rumor.
And guess where? Who's he working out for? Nick Saban in Alabama.
He worked out. Okay. After he entered the transfer portal, he worked out at USC. He worked out for Nick Saban. Once he's in the transfer portal, that's fine.
Okay.
The tampering before you're in the transfer portal is the issue.
Tampering happens. Please stop.
The way the rule is written, you cannot call it. The way the rule is written, you cannot go ahead and call up a player before he's in the portal and say, I know you're right now part of this team, but let me tell you this. I can give you $3 million if you transfer to us. Right now, that's how the rule's written. You're not allowed to do that.
Okay, here's the thing. A made-up rule that the NCAA implemented. Like I said, that will get stripped. If that's why the NCAA does not want to go to court. They're the big losers if this goes to court. Absolutely. They don't want to go to the federal government. They don't want to have Congress get involved in this. They wind up losing. It's restraint of trade. They're just butthurt because it's upsetting the apple cart for them. And who's really complaining? Who's really doing the complaining? The big time schools are complaining because they're chiseling in on their action where they're able to buy everybody before they come to school. They're afraid they're going to lose guys once they get to that school, and all that money that they've wasted on these players when they go transfer someone else, it bothers them. Those are
all
just
the schools that don't have as big boosters and support are teams that also complained about this. There's no way the Iowas can compete with any other. There's no way the Nebraskas can compete. I mean, you got to look at the alumni base. You have to look at the donations, right? Because that's what it comes down to. Whoever now can pay the most has the best players. I'm fine with that. But there has to be some sort of level playing field, right? It'd be like saying in the NFL, well, you can pay as much as you want for any player you want. There's no salary cap. Don't worry
about it.
Pay
your players better. That's how it stops. Pay your players better.
So let's say year after year after year, let's say Alabama, USC, because the cost of living is much higher in USC. Let's just say in California, they're able to say, hey, we're giving every single player $5 million to go ahead. Every commit, $5 million. Well, holy shit, Grump. We're racking up a hell of a lot. They're paying all these they're paying all these college players. Do you think teams like Northwestern, teams like the University of Cincinnati, do you think they can compete offering guys $5 million, $3 million? That's where it's heading. There has to be some sort of maybe a cap. There has to be something that keeps every single fantastic player from transferring to 1 or 2 or 5 organizations, right? The Clemsons of the world. You think they can't just go ahead and dial up the donors and say, here we go. We got one guy we really want. We've been a successful program. Go ahead and give us the money. We need this guy. We're willing to pay $5 million for him.
You make it sound like Clemson has the donor group of like an Ohio State or in Alabama.
Ohio State, Michigan, all these blue blood, extremely fantastic organizations are now just going to run table. And trust me, the guy, right? Pittsburgh's not a big organization or on a big school. They used to be good back in the day. They're not. I'm a fan of the University of Pittsburgh. You will see now more guys that are award finalists, perhaps at the Syracuses, at the small schools, right? They're going to go ahead and say, oh, fantastic. I played well 1 year. Now, great. I'm going to be able to cash in. And that's good. They should be able to cash in.
Well,
but there needs to be some sort of protection or something the team gets back.
But here's
they should get a certain portion of the name, image, and likeness deal that they have to use on name, image, and likeness players. I have no problem with that.
Okay, you're not going to have 400 players making that type of money on one team. So what does it do? Okay,
there's only 75.
Let's say
there's only 75 scholarship players you can have at one time.
Okay, let me finish. Let's say there's a quarterback and he's making whatever he's making, or whatever, and they bring in 2 guys to go up against him. Maybe he's going to lead that school and go somewhere else. It's going to cause a lot of movement all over the place because players are not just going to be happy sitting. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to be happy to sit on the bench because they all want to play on Sundays.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. But let me pose it to you this way too. What's to stop players at USC perhaps to say, well, we're only limited to 75 scholarship players a year, but what we're going to do, man, there's really this other 4-star running back I really want. Well, let's not give him a scholarship, right? We brought on a 5-star running back this year, and we can't afford to give another scholarship away because we're up against the scholarship limit. Well, let me go ahead and call up the donors real quick, and let me go ahead and get him maybe an offer for $200,000-$300,000 a year. Well, that's going to cover his education expense, and he's going to get money from us too in return. Right? It's a way for them to circumnavigate as well the scholarship limit. I'm just saying there has to be some real thought into how they're going to construct this. I like that the players are getting paid, and I told you it was going to be the Wild West just like it is now.
That's what I told you.
And things are going to have to get so bad before they get better. And I told you that. Things are going to have to get so bad where everybody's begging for the NCAA to come in and add regulations on there. It's almost there. It's starting to slowly get there, though.
Eventually, what you see, just like when free agency first started, when it first came in to the league, to all leagues, what happened? They spent money like drunken sailors.
Yes.
And they come to regret it. That's what's going to eventually happen with the NIL. Because
how are they going to come to regret it? Because
let me finish.
The schools aren't spending the money. The organizations aren't spending money. It's donors.
They're going to regret, hey, Johnny Donor, Billy, Dexter Donor, we need this much money to get this kid in. This kid flops, says you can't. And then the next year, hey, we need this for this kid. Says, I just gave you that much money last year. That kid didn't work out. I'm not going to be giving you that amount of money anymore. Eventually, the spending slows down.
Okay.
That's what happens.
Okay. You're not adding a very, very important part of this into the puzzle too. It's a business expense.
Okay.
Hey, hold on. All these funds, they write that off. They write that off of taxes, Grump. That's a donation. They're writing all of those off.
Okay. Even if you write it off, it's still $1 million out of your pocket, out of your bank account.
If you were going to get taxed at, let's say, 40%, well,
so then you lose 60% of your money.
I really love seeing Alabama win on Sundays. I'm a multi-millionaire or I'm a multi-billionaire. I really like seeing Alabama win on Saturdays. I'm sorry. I could go ahead and write this off of my taxes. I could go ahead and do this, right? Hey, they're going to pay. They're going to pay. It's as simple as that. And as long as you're winning, you're going to have the donor base.
All I'm going to say is even Nick Saban knows that the NCAA will get killed in any possible lawsuits. Absolutely killed, because he says they should go to the federal government so that they won't have lawsuits brought against them. Okay? I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. And they're not going to do anything. They can't do anything because they cannot restrict these kids from getting money now just because they started getting it. And the teams are upset about it. Forget it.
Everything I'm suggesting still allows them to get money, and it still should. Okay? You were conflating the fact that, oh, well, they've got to sit out of you. They can't get money. No, they still can.
No, they won't. They won't. They will not get the money because donors are not going to pay for somebody to not be there for a year or sit out for a year. They're not going to do that.
Sit out for a year and come play the year after.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's how transfers used to be done.
It's not going to happen because they'll have one guy come and says, yes, I was going to offer him an NIL deal, but then they found out that I was sitting, so I didn't offer him the deal. That's what will wind up happening. It's a restraint of trade. That's what's going to wind up happening. The NCAA will lose that. They absolutely will lose it. Next topic.
Okay. Oh, so you don't want to listen to the rest of this?
Yeah, let's listen to the rest.
No, we don't have to.
Enforce their rules, just like Nate said. We have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it.
He was not a Division I player. He was a recruit who decommitted from going somewhere else.
I think he's trying to say that he is a Division I quality player.
Okay, and maybe
he went D1 AA.
But here's the thing. He wasn't playing there. He decommitted to go to Jackson State.
Okay. Yeah, he was originally committed to Florida State, decommitted because that was the rumor. Obviously, they deny it, right? But Deion Sanders denies that. But the rumor was that he got $1 million deal, and that's what caused him to flip at the last minute to Jackson State. You're talking about Travis Hunter, a top 5 recruit, a cornerback in last year's class.
I'd want to go, if I was a cornerback, I'd want to play for Deion Sanders too.
I'd want to. Here's the thing: as a college recruit, as a recruit, right? You can't. Deion Sanders is pretty fantastic, but the amenities and the facilities aren't going to be as good at Jackson State as they are going to be at some other place like Florida State or Alabama or Auburn, etc.
You're getting the coaching from a Hall of Fame talent.
Okay, the head coach has a lot of jobs. His job is, I'm not going to go ahead and stick with my cornerback or defensive back group all day. That's not what his job is. He's the head coach.
I guarantee you he'll work with that kid.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
There you go.
All I'm saying
certainly not going to get that level of coaching at Piddly Pup U or Florida State. When was the last time they turned down a cornerback? I don't know. I mean,
Hargrave, right? Or he
he busted out. He was a first round draft pick. He's out of the league already.
He was from Florida. Okay, stop. They've produced corners. I'm gonna have to pull one up. I think less than 5 years ago they produced a top 5 corner. Give me a sec. I'll pull it up. But listen to the rest of this. I mean, you just want it. You're so steadfast in your belief that, oh no, it can't go well. Oh no, Travis Hunter made there. Let's say Travis Hunter, right? Because sometimes these recruits aren't as good as advertised. Let's say he goes to D1 AA school and he's not as good as advertised.
That's true. That's very true.
So, it is what it is. Let's say they say you're playing against lesser competition. That's also it too, right? You've got to be so unbelievably locked down like Sauce Gardner was, right? Where he was Pro Football Focus had him rated as the best corner in the nation. Didn't allow this, didn't allow that. Fantastic. Didn't allow a touchdown. Had all X amount of pass break. You have to be so unbelievably fantastic and so dominant. He played. Think about it. Sauce Gardner played at Division I school, right? It was still a D1. It just wasn't Power 5. You're playing Division I AA. Big difference.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he tested off the charts. That's what sent him up the draft board. You know that.
Tested off the charts and had fantastic results.
Okay. Can keep going.
Oh, think about this too, though, real quick. Sauce Gardner also played against Alabama, played against Notre Dame, played against tough competition. Do you think Jackson State's playing against Alabama, Notre Dame, USC, Clemson? You think he's playing against those caliber teams anytime soon? Answer that's no.
Nope.
I mean, these guys at Miami that are going to play basketball there for $400,000, it's in the newspaper. The guy tells you how he's doing it. So, but the NCAA can't enforce their rules because it's not against the law.
Bingo.
And that's an issue. That's a problem. And unless we get something that protects them from
Make it
litigation.
illegal. Make it illegal. We want you to make it illegal so we protect the NCAA. The organization, the very body that has been stealing money from these kids since it started. Thank you very much. That's why they lose. He knows it too. The only one who doesn't realize it is you. He knows it.
Grump, they should still get paid. Do we have a disconnect? Are you getting bad connection on your side again? They should pay the players. I'm just saying there has to be a safeguard in. I'm worried about the integrity of the sport and the continuity, right? The good teams, they're going to be able to buy all the best players they want. That's just kind of comes with the territory. I understand it, right? They have no salary cap. They could spend as much as they want. As much as their donors are willing to pay, they could spend. On a really good team with a guy who's a charismatic coach, they're going to be able to get a lot of money. That's fine. I understand that. That's how college sports work.
The only way you can do it is if you get a collective bargaining agreement with the college players.
That's
good luck.
That's a way you could do it.
Good luck. Good luck.
A certain portion when you sign on, a certain portion if you leave the team and it's due to a name, image, and likeness deal, a certain portion of the new deal has to go to the existing team.
No.
10%.
That's not a collective bargaining thing. They're going to say every player needs to get paid this. So let's say you go to a Northwestern who doesn't pay people underneath the table or some of the smaller schools. Well, now you're going to have to. What's your revenues? You make $10 million a year. You're going to have to give $7 million of it to the football players because they're the ones who generate that revenue. That's called collective bargaining. That's what's that. And they don't want to do that because most teams, the vast majority of them, it's not going to affect. It affects a few teams. It doesn't affect all the teams, just a few of the big ones. It doesn't affect the little ones at all.
No. It doesn't. You're wrong. It does affect the little ones. When the little ones have a standout player, the little ones, right, where it used to be, that's our guy. This is our Calvin Johnson.
Who are you talking about?
You're going to let me speak? Holy shit.
Okay. What do you consider a little team?
Dude, any team that's not the top freaking 10 or top 15 blue blood teams in the nation, those are little teams.
I'm talking about teams that are not in the Power 5 conferences.
Okay, the Power 5 conference, all teams in the Power 5 conference are not made equal, Grump. What are you not getting about that?
They make a boatload of money, though, all of them. Because they're a Power 5 team.
I'm gonna remind you, the colleges cannot pay the players. It has to be on the name, image, and likeness deals that come from the donors as the way it's written right now. What are we not getting about that?
It's never going to happen. They will lose in court. Even Saban knows it. He knows it.
Okay, so now what protection does what the protection does the college have? What protection does a team have? None.
What protection have the players had all these years? Let's say you get really hurt and you can't play anymore. They just cut your scholarship.
No, they can't. They
can do anything they want.
You're wrong. You're flat out wrong about that. Stop speaking about it. They can't cut your scholarship due to an injury that happened on the field. If you get injured dicking around or skateboarding outside, right, they could determine to cut your scholarship. Teams don't do that, though. And a lot of times, right, if a guy comes in, they offer him a scholarship, he comes in and he has a degenerative heart and his heart is not, able to pass the physical. Usually they honor those scholarships as well. So you're wrong on that.
Okay, but not all the time. I'm just saying if they
99.999%. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Okay.
You hear it all the time. You hear it all the time where a player will come to schools like, oh, he's got a heart or he's got sickle cell. He's unable to play. We're still going to honor your scholarship. That's how that works.
Okay. let's move on to another topic. It's been 35 minutes on this one topic.
Okay. Anyway, Asante Samuel Jr. He was a second-round pick by the Chargers from Florida State. Also, Derwin James also was a pick there, top first-round pick
He's
there,
a safety.
defensive back from
He's
Florida
not a cornerback.
State.
He's a safety. He's not a cornerback. He's a safety.
I said defensive backs.
Okay.
Or if I didn't say defensive backs, I meant to say defensive backs.
Okay. No.
Anyway, so okay, you and I'll agree to disagree, but a certain portion of that, I think that's a healthy median. A certain portion of that could be sent there to the team, so they'd have to use it on a name, image, and likeness deal on another player, or they could pay.
Get your donors to pony up money. That's how you stop it.
Can I finish a sentence? Jesus Christ, I can't hear you when you speak over as I'm speaking. A certain portion of it, they can either redistribute to the current players on the roster, or they can use to get another player. I'm sorry. Now make your point.
I know it's the fourth time you've said it for your argument. I'm just saying, get your donors to pony up. All these big schools have money. They have donors. Have them pony up. You got to play with the big boys. If you don't want to get in the deep end of the water, be Pittsburgh or some of these other schools.
Does Iowa State have the donor support?
Absolutely, they do.
Hold on.
Yes, they do.
Finish. You didn't even let me fucking finish. Holy shit! You're in that tunnel vision grump zone. Does Iowa State has a donor support of USC?
They probably do. They probably have big donors there.
Iowa State.
Yeah.
Iowa State.
What do you think? Just because someone's out in California, they have more money than somebody who's in Iowa? You don't know that.
Yeah, we can't say the median income, yes, is much higher there in certain sections.
Let's say the donor from Iowa State works in New York City, but he went to Iowa State. I mean, it's not everybody lives in the state of Iowa.
Right? It used to be done based off the facilities, right? That's how they had to do it beforehand. Oh, we can donate to improve the facilities, right? USC has a huge donor group. Let's say Florida, they're going to have huge. Does Florida have the same exact donor, the donor size and the amount of money that's going to be pumped in, let's say, as Rutgers? Do you think they have the same? You think they're comparable, Rutgers and Florida, regarding donations there by
no idea,
big donors?
No idea, and neither do you. You have no idea. Neither
okay, yeah, okay, sounds good. Play ignorant and play.
I don't think it matters what school you went to. It's where you're working. It's where you're working and earning your living after going to school.
Play. Oh, I could never guess that when it fits your point narrative. That's fine. Not Andy Francis. Wow, that looks like Andy Francis there in the video. He says, it's been roughly a year since I started watching you guys, and I still don't know the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man schedule. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Drew L says, what's up, TJ Grump? I sent you guys something on Twitter yesterday on the Islanders Never Say Die. Okay, I don't have that pulled up. I'll take a look at it. Apex Legends Senior Citizen says here, TJ, simple as that, with the told you so grumpy old man. I guess those are the words we say. James F saying, hi guys, what's up, James? How are you? Bello scored 2 goals against Great Britain today, both on the power play.
Well, okay.
Florida's kind of dominated Tampa this game. They're not shooting them 32-20, and Vasilevsky is just being a top 10 goalie of all time like this, like he is.
Tampa Bay just saying, okay, we're going to play rope-a-dope with you, and then when they need a goal at the end, they get one, just like tonight. They're up 2-0 in the series.
And James F. saying, Grumpy, are you watching Offer? It's awesome.
The Offer. Yes, I have watched it. I know a lot of that backstory anyway, and I love the guy who's playing Robert Evans. If you've ever heard Robert Evans talk, he really has that down. I know TJ's just totally lost. It's about the making of The Godfather, The Offer. It's a limited time series on Paramount Plus. And yes, I have been watching it. I'm just not enamored with the part with Joe Colombo. For me, I don't know. I don't know what Joe Colombo was like. I don't remember listening to him speak. And Giovanni Ribisi is playing that role. And I just think he's a little bit over the top. So, but the guy, but I mean, I do like I said, I do like certain things they're doing. I don't know how true they are, but certainly they're playing it, where they're throwing Godfather references in outside conversations that they had. Very interesting.
It's like you're talking another language when you're speaking about that stuff.
I know, because you don't understand entertainment.
There it is. Drew L says, honestly, Philly's secondary now that they've signed James Bradbury, could be lethal for the next 2 seasons. Yeah, they still have Darius Slade. They've got a good defense, and I think that Philly, right? I think Philly is really taking a big step forward. I'm not sure in the regular season they'll be able to compete with the likes of Dallas. I know Dallas has lost a few pieces. I still put Dallas as the favorite to win that division, but Philadelphia has really solidified their team. The biggest issue is quarterback for them.
Well, there you go. How far are they going without a quarterback? Again, I think James Bradbury is overrated. I think that contract that he signed with the Giants was a wild overpay. Giants realized it after a couple of years, let him go. Darius Slay's a good corner still, but he's on the downside, and I just don't think Bradbury's that good. I'm not saying they shouldn't have signed him. He's certainly an upgrade, but I don't think he's, top 5 or top 10 in the league.
Drew L saying here, one question, TJ, does your shirt's jersey colors on the shoulder, are they naturally black, or did your jersey get a nice old burnout by the pickup truck? No. It's meant to be like they're supposed to be dots. This is an old kit of Burnley Football Club. They're like Burnley, they're claret. They're claret red or claret burgundy. Frank K says here, yeah, Saban attacked Deion Sanders in Jackson State too. I did, yeah.
He's butthurt because he didn't get in on it. That's the whole thing. He's a year late. That's what's pissing him off.
Hold on? Let me ask you this: do you really think he was so dumb not to understand that's how things were going to move? I don't think that's the case.
He's 70 years old. He thinks he's got when was the last time they've won how many national championships in a row? How many times have they been in the championship game in the last 5 or 6 years? He's on top of the mountain. He's like, yeah, it's not going to affect us. He was shocked.
He didn't think money would affect the players. These think about it, right? And that's why I'm happy these young men are getting paid. Some of these guys come from nothing to little. They have a chance. They've got a chance to make themselves $1 million a year. Oh man, that's great. You can help your family get out of poverty. You can help go ahead and set yourself up for a future. Fantastic.
Yeah, but that's what he's been doing for years. So, you look at it that way. I guess he didn't expect it to be that much money that fast, and he was caught off guard. He's like, we've been paying these guys hundreds of thousands of dollars every year forever. They're not going to leave us. I don't even know if they lost anybody.
They did. They lost a few players to Jimbo Fisher. I can't tell you exactly which ones, but they originally were ranked 1, and then Texas A&M, within 3 weeks of the early signing period, because now there's 2 signing periods: the early signing period and the regular signing period. Before the early signing period, 2 weeks before, they started getting a whole bunch of 5- and 4-star recruits just started trickling in and recommitting.
Those are the rules. They're able to decommit. So he's pissed off that it's not even the players leaving who are already at the schools. He's pissed off that he's poaching recruits from him. Thanks. Too bad, Nick Saban.
I don't care if he poaches recruits from him. I don't care about that part. I care about the players. Think about West Virginia. I'm not a West Virginia fan. I hate West Virginia. West Virginia lost over 50% of their players to the transfer portal. Have a new coach comes in, you lose over half the team. Some players left for name, image, and likeness deals. I'm just like, how is West Virginia expected to be a competitive team next year because they've got all this moving and jostling around? Could you imagine you have to replace 50% of your starters or 50% of the team? It's tough. You're going to have a whole bunch of new players that you don't know if they gel together well in the locker room. You don't know if they're going to gel together on the field. It had so many more questions. If players are able to just transfer willy-nilly, what's to stop if you lose a coach, 70% of the team transferring? What's to stop that?
What does it do? It gives other young men an opportunity to play for West Virginia. That's what it does.
What the fuck was that? You sounded all weird there, Grump. But I mean, okay, yeah, it does give them the opportunity to play for West Virginia. I'm just saying, let's say Joe Smith comes in and I'm the new West Virginia head coach. I have 70% of my scholarships open. How could you recruit and say, oh, fantastic, come with us? We just came off a losing season. The head coach got fired. Come to commit to us. You're going to have playing time open, but you'll have playing time open at a million different other schools. And now you don't even know if our team's good. We lost 70% of our starters or 70% of the team. How do you know if we're going to be competitive? How do you even know if we're going to be competitive next year, Grump?
It doesn't matter. Let's say a kid doesn't have a scholarship offer anywhere else, but now he's got the opportunity to play West Virginia.
So you're going to now have to go ahead and get rid of the starters on the team and get rid of 70% of your team. And now you're going after guys that would be preferred walk-ons to fill the roster spots. You see what I mean? You see what I mean by that?
I just want to give everybody a chance. Obviously, you don't care about that. You're too worried about your little team losing a wide receiver. You're still butthurt over Pittsburgh losing a wide receiver because he didn't want to play on a shitty team. That's just what it comes down to.
I don't care if he left. What I care about is what this is going to start. We told you this is going to be the Wild West. Look how far it's devolved and look how far it's moved along. I'd say devolved very purposely. Look how far the name, image, and likeness has skewed away from what the good intentions have been. It's just going to continue to move that way.
Okay.
Now the Eagles just need to trade away Miles Sanders for a better running back, and they're set. I mean, Miles Sanders is good back when he's healthy, but he's always hurt.
He's always hurt. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback.
Joseph C. said here, Nick Saban is so full of shit. He opened up that can of worms by pretending like their program was a pillar of morality by doing things the right way. Absolutely. They certainly are not.
No sympathy for him or Alabama whatsoever.
The Wicker Man says, well, TJ, you don't just make players sit out a year. Joe Burrow transferred because he wasn't playing, and look what he became. Well, that's fine. He could transfer, be more than happy to transfer. There just has to be some sort of protection to the organization, to the coaches that are there.
See, I could give two shits about the organization or the coaches. They have been raping these players financially forever. Now it's coming back the other way, and they don't like it. Tough shit. Tough shit. What goes around comes around.
As I told you again, the players should get paid, and they are getting paid. Good. There has to be some.
He wants to stop it because he knows they'd lose in court. Nick Saban knows they'd lose in court. We need to go to the federal government so they won't get sued.
I don't
put up a law.
Jesus Christ. I don't think he wants to stop paying players, and we shouldn't stop paying players.
Well, you're right. He doesn't want to stop.
Captain interruption.
Yeah, he doesn't want to stop paying players the way he's paying them. He wants to stop it the way somebody else is doing it because he's been happy paying players for 25 years there. But he just doesn't like it because somebody else has found another way to pay players that he doesn't agree with and is hurting his bottom line. That's what it comes down to. He's a fucking crybaby.
Are you done? Are you gonna let me talk for a second? Are you done?
No.
Okay, well, we'll just fucking move on because you just won't let me go ahead and finish a point. Every time I get captain interruption over there, and again, it's hard to keep a train of thought when I'm trying to go ahead and make a statement. I just get railroaded. Drew says here, I think I'm experiencing a debate on what higher corporations do with capitalism. But I had to go ahead and clip what Grumpy said about being bent over and you know what? Brett W says here, Ride Lightning, Tampa wins 2-1. They're taking a 2-0 lead over Florida. Florida, yikes.
Bye-bye, Florida.
The cousin Mo says, I know this is off topic, but I'm a Jets fan. This is the first time since Curtis Martin that I've been stoked for football season. What do you think, Grump?
That's a long time, by the way, since Curtis Martin was playing. Parcells was coach back then. Think about how long that was. If you're a Jets fan, you should be a little bit excited. I wish I knew more about Zach Wilson. And if he's ready to take the next step, I still would have added an offensive lineman in there somehow. I don't believe in Fat Boy. I guess when they didn't draft somebody, he's probably up over 450 again. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's about the offensive line. It was really bad last year.
I think the Jets have reasons to be optimistic. You're not going to be fantastic overnight, but I think this could be a year where, hey, we're stringing together 7 or 8 wins. I think, that's a win and a step in the right direction for them. I think they've got a lot of the right pieces there. And I think the head coach, Saleh, is a good coach. I think there's reason to be optimistic. I think you could start to see the Jets finally make a step in the right direction. If we're in the playoff hunt by the end of the season, that's a win for me. Exactly. 8 wins, I think it's a great year for the Jets. If you've got 8 wins. Yeah.
To go from 4 to 8, that would be really good.
James F. saying the actor played Al Pacino is spot on.
A lot of them are really good. I mean, they're not the actors and they're, doing, the guy who plays Brando, there's certain parts where he does something that Marlon would have done. He doesn't look like him and obviously he's not as good, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. You can definitely see the mannerisms if you're familiar with those actors and their characters. The guy who plays Coppola is really, really good too.
Drell says here that Miami Heat look terrible right now. The Celtics are just killing them. You've got Marcus Smart doing damn trick shots on the court. James F saying here, I can't. Tampa won with 4 seconds left in the game. It looks like they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals again.
True. I think they're going to the Stanley Cup Finals.
I guess. I was about to say you're going to get some rest if you sweep your opponent, the Florida Panthers. You're going to get some rest.
Maybe you get Braden Point back too.
And then Drew says here, also TJ and Grump, what do you think about Pat Beverly's comments there to Chris Paul? Well, we'll break that down. I've got JJ Redick's because this all started. They were on First Take. Pat Beverly and JJ Redick were on First Take. They were talking a little bit about Chris Paul. I've got JJ Redick's comments because he happened to go viral, and they had a few responses. So we'll go ahead and show that here later. But no, we're going to make sure we list that. I just want to go ahead and give Jimbo Fisher the chance there so you can hear his response. He clapped back and things. I don't know. This is I think it's building a fantastic rivalry there between Texas A&M and Alabama that I'm excited to watch here. But I'll let you listen to this right here.
First of all, I'll say it's a shame that we have to do this. It's really despicable. It's despicable that somebody can say things about somebody and an organization. More importantly, 17-year-old kids. We're taking shots at 17-year-old kids and their families. That they broke state laws. That they're all money. We bought every player on this group. We never bought anybody. No rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong. It was all in the way we do things, the ethics in which we do things. And these families, it's despicable that a reputable head coach could come out and say this when he doesn't get his way or things don't go his way. The narcissist in him doesn't allow those things to happen, and it's ridiculous. But when he's not on top, and the parity of college football he's been talking about, go talk to coaches who coach for him.
Yeah.
You'll find out all the parity. Go dig into wherever he's been.
Yeah.
Find out anything. And it's
tell Jimbo.
You're going to sit here and defend 17-year-old kids and families and Texas A&M because we do things right. We're always going to do things right.
Preach, Jimbo, preach. He's 100% right.
He's not the king of morality.
I'm not saying he is. He's calling out the hypocrite. That's Nick Saban.
Nick Saban is a hypocrite.
And he should have just kept his mouth shut because there's so many skeletons in his closet. That's why he backtracked. You want to know why? Because he probably called up, Jimbo probably called up, hey, Nick, you want to stop talking shit? No problem. I'm going to empty the freaking wagon on your ass. And he's like, oh, hold on, Jimbo. I was drunk or whatever. And he came out and he apologized right the next day. 6 hours later, he freaking apologized.
Okay. Did you actually hear the apology? It was kind of one of those half apologies, half not. So
for a guy like Nick Saban, who never apologizes to anyone, that's mind-boggling for me.
All he said was he shouldn't have gone ahead and used specific examples. And then he went ahead and he said, it still doesn't change the fact that these teams did that and that I still have it. So it was one of those half apology things. You actually have to listen to it. I don't feel like going too much further down the rabbit hole. We spent 50 minutes on this. You and I clearly don't agree. And it'll be something that continues to go on. And you'll see the sport continue to degenerate and continue to just fall off the wagon. But that's fine.
I can tell you one thing.
Okay. What, Grumpy? You still want to talk about that?
Just one thing. I am rooting for Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher.
Okay. Glad we got that. I thought you find this is it's odd. So now Adam Schefter came out and said an MRI today confirmed that Tariq Cohen, who hasn't played in the NFL since he tore his ACL in week 3 of 2020, ruptured his Achilles while live streaming a training workout on Instagram Live per a source. My gosh. Oof.
I feel bad for Cohen.
I do. I feel bad for Cohen. He's a small running back. He was from what school was he? He was from a HBCU, I believe, right?
I mean, yeah, really. And he's a tiny fella.
He's a down-to-earth guy, a nice person. I was just like, I hate to see that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I that's probably the end of his career, don't you think?
Running backs don't last long. He was a guy who had to rely upon his speed and ability to evade, tacklers. And you got an ACL injury. And now you've ruptured your Achilles. Oh,
those Achilles are tough. They're tough injuries,
especially for a running back.
Yeah, particularly his type of running back, which everything is change of direction and quickness. Yeah,
he went to North Carolina or North Carolina Agriculture and Tech A&T. State or North Carolina A&T.
Yep, Agriculture and Technology.
Yeah, and I mean he's He's been in the NFL for a while. He's 26 years old. You know, I think unfortunately that may be the end of him.
Yeah.
At least used the way he was, right? He was an all-pro running back early on in his career for Chicago.
He wasn't an all-pro.
He was an all-pro. I'm looking at it right now.
He was not an all-pro running back. He was not one of the top 2 running backs in the league. He might have made a Pro Bowl. That's not all-pro. We've already had that discussion. He was not all-pro.
You just go ahead and show it to you, Grump, because apparently Grumpy knows all. He knows every single all-pro that's ever been. Oh, sorry, wrong screen here. Okay. All I'm doing is just, here it is, right? Former Bears all-pro Tariq Cohen tears Achilles during.
I guarantee he was not all-pro. He probably made a Pro Bowl. He was not all-pro. All-pro means the top 2 running backs in the league for a year. He was never that.
Okay, so CBS Sports got it wrong?
Yes, CBS Sports got it wrong. That's exactly what I'm saying. Tell me what year he was all-pro.
All-pro running back.
Okay, I don't give a shit what they say. He was not actually all-pro. He was never actually an all-pro. He was not. Unless maybe as a kick returner, but certainly not as a running back.
Okay, he was an all-pro guy. I don't know why you get stuck so much on this.
I don't think he was ever an all-pro. Oh, wait, go ahead, scroll down.
First team all-pro.
Click on it. Click on it. Was it as a returner? Because if it's not as a running back, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. There's the all-pro symbol. I'm sure it was as a kick returner.
Well, there you go. So it was not as a running back. He's not an all-pro running back. He was an all-pro kick returner.
Okay. I just said he's an all-pro.
Okay.
You had to protect your little ego over there because Grumpy can't be wrong.
Okay, because guess what? He's not an all-pro. He was never an all-pro. Kick returners should never be all-pro. Guess what? Gunnar Olszewski was an all-pro kick returner. Does anyone even know who he is? No.
He's a kick returner for the Patriots, right?
Yeah, he sucks.
Okay. So, yeah, I do know who he is. So, to answer your question,
it's only because I've told you about him before. It's the only reason that you know.
No, he didn't. I guess if you're playing fantasy, that's good news for David Montgomery. But I feel bad for Tariq. He's a pretty decent pass catching back and a good returner. I heard the Achilles pop sounded bad, like a balloon popping. Oh yeah, I was about to say that's the odd part about it too. It was live streamed on Instagram to where it's like everybody could see that. Oh, I hate that. That's a really bad injury. Yeah. And that's how they say they sound like a balloon popping like that as well. Speaking about injuries, Grump, and this will wrap up here. Last little injury update we've got. Max Scherzer out injured with an oblique strain. He's going to miss at least 8 to 6 weeks around for that injury.
He pulled himself out of the game. He's really in tune with his body, and he just felt a little something and he just shut it down. So it probably could have been worse. Again, what's he, 37 years old? They're going to have older pitchers have those type of injuries. It's tough. He's usually been a workhorse. The last couple of years, he's had some injuries, but I'm sure he'll be back, certainly for the stretch run. The Mets are going to have to do without him for a little while, though. I hear that they're in on Chris Paddock now with Minnesota.
It is worth showing this as well. It's funny. You talk about the Mets. What are the one thing the Mets always have to try to beat? Injuries. Think about this. The Mets' injured pitchers have a higher payroll than 7 MLB teams. Think about that. Speaking about do they need to relook at how the MLB structures how they pay players. You have the injured pitchers on the Mets staff, which are heavily comprised of Jacob deGrom's salary and Max Scherzer, that make, again, just injured Mets pitchers make more than 7 other MLB's teams' entire payroll.
I don't think those are Mets pitchers just for this year making that salary.
Yes.
I'd want to know how they break it down because I know that DeGrom is out and Scherzer is out. I don't know how much money that is. I don't know who else they have out, honestly. So,
give me a sec here.
But you can't make, again, they keep on trying to do
Trevor
things.
McGill is also out. Max Scherzer's out. You've got Jacob deGrom is out. Trevor May is out. Sean Reed Foley is out as a pitcher.
So that's 5 guys. Okay.
John Curtis is out.
6.
Joey Lucchesi.
Joey Lucchesi.
Lucchesi, sorry.
Okay, you're talking 7 pitchers. So really, it's not that much money then. If you look at that's a lot of players, right?
Okay. Just to think about it, though, the Mets pitchers that are out right now at the moment make more than seven different entire MLB's teams payroll. Yeah, right. The Trevor McGills aren't getting paid hand over fist, right? It's not like the guys like, okay, Trevor May are making hand over fist. I'm just saying, I think it's nuts. And I'm a Mets fan. I just think it's nuts when you put that into perspective. The guys who are injured on their pitching staff alone, not including the Starling Martes or any of the bats that are injured. You just look at the pitchers alone.
Yeah.
More than seven other MLB clubs' entire payroll.
The biggest issue is that you can't get other teams. They don't want to spend the money. They just don't want to do it. They want to make money with those franchises. The people show up. They're still getting the the TV deal. So they don't want to spend it. What they need to do is have a salary cap. I know they don't want a salary cap, but if you have a floor and a ceiling, because you can't have a floor without a ceiling, that would kind of rectify it. It'd make the team spend money.
Yep, absolutely. Joseph C. says here, reports are that the Mets will be aggressive at the trade deadline. Cohen is on a mission, according to Mets reporters, to win a World Series.
Isn't it amazing what an owner who wants to win makes all the difference? I love when the Mets, for years, were trying to sell themselves as a small market team. No, you had small market type owners. You weren't in a small market. Were you 10 miles from Yankee Stadium? Please.
Absolutely, Grump. Absolutely. So I want to show you here. JJ Redick has been on Sports Center, been on First Take a few times here as of recent. And I'll put you like this. It's some comments that are a little flamboyant and a little, a hot take, I'm sure, as you can imagine, on First Take. He's been making some I wouldn't say outlandish comments. He's definitely been making some comments that were against the cuff. I'll let you listen to the comments and in the response back. Again, it seems like there's a lot of responding back to these because current players seem to be trashing a little bit on the older guys, but I'll let you listen, Grumpy.
In Oklahoma City, he lost that series when he was on the Clippers. Missed 4 free. Was it 2 or 4?
No. It was. I was on the team. It was
he missed
a turnover. He fouled Russell Westbrook, and then he turned it over on the last play.
2 free throws.
There was no free throws involved.
How about last year in one of the games against Milwaukee? Didn't he have 5 points in Game 5 against?
And it is worth adding this in. Right now, we're picking up. They're asking, is Chris Paul a transcendent player? And that's the conversation that they're on at the moment. Sorry, I didn't give that
a transcendental player. Yeah. He's not.
Here it is, right? This was earlier on when they were playing the Pelicans. So this is a few weeks ago that these exchanges took place.
Was off in the game. Okay. If you are an NBA Hall of Famer.
What about the entire Lakers series where he couldn't shoot a basketball? Physically couldn't raise his shoulder and arm above his head, and he gutted it out and beat the Lakers. So does he get credit for that?
But we are putting him on this level of the all-time greats. When you put him on the level of the all-time greats, you can't have these.
Is he an all-time great, JJ?
You can't put.
He's absolutely an all-time point guard. He's an all-time great point guard. If he wins a championship, he's in the conversation for the greatest point guard ever. I'm not
Is that echoing on your side?
No.
It's huge echo on my side.
Probably because you're delayed, but that's fine. Anyway, did you hear what he said? I'll rewind it there again so you can hear. It's not echoing at all, but I'll listen to it again.
An all-time great point guard. If he wins a championship, he's in the conversation for the greatest point guard ever. I'm not saying he's the greatest.
No. Okay, I'm totally in line with Mad Dog here. If he wins, and he's not going to win an NBA championship, and he certainly would not be in the discussion for greatest point guard ever. Absolutely not. He shrinks in the big game. He did again this year against whoever they lost to.
They wound up losing to Dallas.
Totally disappeared in the finals. Totally disappeared.
This is not even a controversial statement he made. Obviously, that one's a little controversial. I'm like, JJ, you're a little off on that. He's not in the conversation for the best point guard that ever lived, but I'll let you continue listening.
Greatest point guard. He's not Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy couldn't dribble with his left hand.
Bob Cousy changed the game. Chris Paul didn't change the game.
Bob Cousy won championships when there were 8 teams in the NBA and you had to win 2 playoff series.
Guys.
Let's celebrate Bob Cousy in his era, but you can't compare pre-1980 with
yes, you can.
With the modern NBA.
Yes,
No, you cannot. No, you
Cousy,
cannot.
well, how about Weston Oscar? Can you compare Cousy with Weston Oscar?
The great players can play in any era. There's no doubt about that.
Cousy was first team All NBA when Weston Oscar were playing. I think he was first team All NBA. That's against Weston Oscar.
Well,
First team All NBA.
You know,
Has Paul ever been first team All NBA?
did Bob Cousy ever shoot over 40% from the field?
Well,
in his
we
career?
understand that.
Did
You're
he
right.
overshoot? Did he ever shoot
probably
over
not.
40%?
Probably 39, 40%. Different kind
Not
of game.
once.
It's
Not
fair.
once.
That's fair. He also had 29 assists in an NBA game.
Oh, well, you know, he was being guarded by plumbers and firemen.
That's the statement right there that got him a little bit in trouble. He said he was being guarded by plumbers and firemen. I'm sure, as you can imagine, right? Go ahead, Grump.
Bob Cousy was clutch, though. Chris Paul is not. There's a difference. I mean, the game was played differently back then. It was a team game. Now it's really not a team game. It's more isolation, individual play for the most part. You know, I mean, here's the thing. Chris Paul, nice guy. I like him in those little commercials he does. But he's not a winner. He just isn't.
Well, don't worry. We got to respond. That's the great thing about the internet, Grumpy. You just wait long enough. They'll have a chance to respond. And Bob Cousy, I don't think, took those comments too well. Or he's not, you know, he's not malicious or anything like that. But I think he was well thought out with what he was coming back with. He had a chance to sit on it, come up with a formulated response to it. Here's Bob Cousy responding to that.
People with less talent will always try to make a name for themselves by criticizing other people.
Talking about changing immediately with a little back. People with less talent will always try to criticize people with more talent to make a name for themselves. Coming at JJ Redick. Oh wow! Right off that, Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy's got to be like 80, and he just come out and just roasted him.
Buried the living shit out of JJ Redick
in the first 5 seconds.
I was about to say, bears it. I got to listen to that one more time.
People with less talent will always try to make a name for themselves by criticizing other people and hopefully getting some attention and perhaps increasing their credibility. So when you respond to something like this, you play into their hands. I won't do that, but I will defend the firemen and the plumbers that he referenced, and I'll just give you a few of their names of these firemen that I played with and against during those years. How about Bill Russell, the aforementioned, not too bad a player. Wilt Chamberlain, remember that guy? He wasn't bad. I guess he must have fought fires as well, but in any event, Wilt Chamberlain, still the best, in my judgment, small forward that ever played the game. A guy named Elgin Baylor.
What, Grumpy? We can't have you talking over the. What did you say?
I'm calling these guys out because I know who he's talking about.
Okay,
Elgin Baylor. I knew he was going to say that.
I'll let it continue.
A couple of point guards that weren't too shabby. My colleague who also had an award created, a guy named Oscar Robertson, who was pound for pound the best player perhaps in the game. Jerry West wasn't too shabby. The guys on our team, Sam and Casey Jones, a guy named Hondo Havlicek wasn't too bad. Tom Heinsohn, Frank Ramsey, George Mikan, Bob Pettit. I could go on and on. And we must have had the best firemen and plumbers on the planet at the time. So, and I was very proud to play with all of them.
Absolutely. JJ Redick. All right. He likes Chris Paul. Obviously, he played with him. I'm sorry. In a big game, I don't want Chris Paul on there. He shrinks in the big moment. He just does. I mean, he's a great regular season player. He's the Barry Trotz of point guards. Let's put it to you that way. Great in the regular season, not so good in the playoffs.
Oh man. And so again, obviously JJ Redick did that. He got in a little bit of a back and forth with Pat Beverly as well. So we'll just save one JJ Redick little tidbit here because that was from a while ago. But I think Bob Cousy, man, you want to talk about answering that question like a freaking pro. Immediately, the first 10 seconds in a calm, collected way just eviscerates JJ Redick and like, oof. And he goes on there and just starts to say, oh yeah, guys like this. Yeah, there sure are, plumbers and firemen as you list off Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer.
I mean, Will Chamberlain, they had changed the way the rules of the game because he was so much better than everybody else. They had to change. They had to expand the lane because of him. I'm sorry. He scored over 100 points in a game. Had a year where he averaged over 50 points and 30 rebounds. Stop. I mean, no one's ever done that. No one's ever going to do that. Stop. I mean, I like JJ Redick. I loved him at Duke. Just an ignorant statement. He lost the argument with Chris Russo. And here's the thing. Mad Dog is not afraid to admit certain things. That's why I kind of like him. He's not afraid. Like he said, well, Kuzi never shot, whatever his shooting percentage
40%.
was.
Yeah.
The game was different. He was a facilitator. He wasn't a shooter. When you got Bill Russell and John Havlicek and Casey and Sam Jones, I mean, you don't need to score a whole lot of points. They were a well-oiled machine under Red Auerbach. I mean, I just stop. Just stop.
Joseph C. saying here, Cohen is any fan's dream as an owner. He's virtually limitless pockets, and he's willing to spend whatever it takes to win.
Here's the thing that I think the Mets have done extremely well this last offseason. We've talked about it before. The type of player that they're bringing in, the Starling Martes, the Eduardo Escobars, not the biggest stars, but really good glue guys and good players too. But they're guys who are leaders in the locker room. Scherzer, another one, right? I mean, I think you don't have the Baez's anymore. I mean, you're never going to see that ridiculous that we had last year with him and Lindor. I mean, I think
they're going ahead and their thumbs down when the fans go and hit when they boom, thumbs down and shit like that. Whatever. Oh, God Almighty.
I mean, I think Lindor is going to be a better person playing next to a guy like Escobar, honestly, who's just a solid guy, a real class guy. I think it rubs off when he has that other goofball next to him. Well, you saw what happened there.
Drell said, yeah, Mad Dog Russo and JJ Redick were the analysts that ESPN needed since Skip Bayless left. I'm glad they have them for First Take now.
Yeah, that must have been heated. I'm sure it went on more. I mean, when Stephen A is telling him, trying to jump it, he's like, nope, they just back off, let him go at
it. Joseph C. said, it's still hard to see Chris Russo on First Take. He was awful with Mike Francesa all those years on WFAN.
I like Mad Dog. I like him. That's the way he taught his little speech, the way he says it. Look, Francesa takes too many pregnant pauses. That drives me crazy. I'm like, well,
Drew L saying here, the greatest point guards ever to play, at least for me, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, and Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson was phenomenal. Phenomenal. He averaged a triple-double one year. Think about that. He was that good. He was tremendous. But again, it's like, and even Magic Johnson, people forget Magic couldn't shoot when he first came into the league. He did everything else well. His rookie year, he won a championship with the Lakers. When Kareem went out for Game 7, Magic played center that game. I mean, that's how versatile. Remember, he was 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", whatever he was, and he played point guard. Just a wizard with the ball. Just really was. Eventually developed a nice little baby hook shot and became a better shooter. But that was at the beginning. He never would have been a three-point shooter consistently because it just wasn't his game. But he did everything well. Everything well.
James F. saying here, that guy wasn't even alive when Bob Cousy was playing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, think about. I don't know how he's got to be. I mean, he played like in the 50s, so he's got to be close to like upper 80s, 90 now, isn't he? I mean,
Andrew said he's 93 years old.
Jeez, think about that.
Yes. Bob Cousy must have won the most polite elderly roast of 2022.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful right there. He slammed JJ Redick in the first 5 seconds, and then went in, I'm not going to go at him, but already did.
Drew L said, Grump, screw triple doubles. Russell Westbrook pads his stats with triple doubles. Oscar was so good. And he said, sorry, Westbrick.
Yeah, here's the thing. Oscar Robertson wasn't shooting the ball 40 times a game to get his points. Oscar Robertson could do everything. He was a great defensive player too. He was, when the Milwaukee Bucks won their first championship, when Kareem was there, he was the glue guy. I think he was 34 years old playing point guard even then. And he was just a rock back there. Another class guy. I mean,
Mm.
I like guys like that. I like guys who are classy individuals. I just do. I root for them. I do.
Switching a little bit, switching gears, Grump. You may have seen this, right? Earlier on this week, even towards the tail end last week, it was supposed to be penciled in that Kylian Mbappe was going to Real Madrid. ESPN FC, which ESPN Football Club says here, PSG has given up on keeping Kylian Mbappe and expect him to announce a move to Real Madrid, sources have said. Well, 2 hours ago, and Fabrizio is usually spot on with everything he's got. He's a guy with the man with the inside hand. He says Kylian Mbappe will have a new direct internal discussion with his camp and family today. There's still no green light to Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain. None of Kylian's camp is now able to guarantee that the decision will be announced on Sunday or maybe even earlier.
Okay, he's supposed to make.
Sorry, go ahead, Grump.
This is later than the last thing I saw. He's supposed to make his decision 5 a.m. Sunday morning.
But yep, now it seems like things are coming to a halt, and it looks like they're going to be dragging this out a little longer, Grump.
He has already agreed to a personal services contract with Real Madrid. He just has not signed the contract yet. So he's always wanted to play for Real Madrid. Cristiano was his idol when he was growing up. He met him when he was 13 years old. He's always wanted to play for Real Madrid. I think if he was going to re-sign with Paris Saint-Germain, he already would have. He's unhappy with the direction of the team. He wants the guy who's the general manager fired. He doesn't like the coach. He wants to move out some other players, bring new players in. I don't know if you want to give that type of power to a player.
Well, let me ask you this. Money talks. Do you think they're going to throw a huge portion of money? Remember,
They already have. They've offered him so much money, way more than Real offered him, way more. It's for him, supposedly, it's not about money. It's about the direction of the team. All I say is to Kylian Mbappe, look at your team, who was the favorite to beat Real Madrid, and they come back and kicked your butt in the second leg, knocked you out, and they're in the Champions League final with an inferior team this year. They're not that good. He puts them right on top again.
Let me ask you this. There were originally rumors that perhaps Cristiano Ronaldo would be returning back to Real Madrid. Let me ask you this. If Kylian Mbappe signs, right, do you think that closes the door on possibly Cristiano Ronaldo returning back to Real Madrid?
If Mbappe signs there?
Yes.
Yeah, no Cristiano. If Mbappe signs there, no way.
Really?
No way. Nope.
Cristiano's
got to get out of Manchester United, though.
Now, Cristiano Ronaldo, he was not included as a finalist for Premier League Player of the Year. And
he shouldn't have been. He wasn't. He played on a shitty team. I think he's close to the league in scoring.
He is. Goals and assists per game, he's higher than a lot of the players that were included on that list. In 2022, I think he leads the Premier League in goals. So, he missed, and I can't remember. I've looked up a whole bunch of the items. The stats are really good. It was kind of an anomaly that he wasn't, in my opinion, right? It's an anomaly that he wasn't included. Should have been included on there. He doesn't play defense for Manchester United, and he doesn't control how miserable the midfield was. He doesn't control any of those items. All he does is finish. So, I thought he should. David, go ahead, Grump.
The fact that his team is not really good also hurts.
Yeah, well.
I mean, who are the guys who are up for Player of the Year?
You've got guys for Southampton as a Player of the Year candidate. So just
really
thinking. David De Gea says here, without Cristiano Ronaldo, we would have battled relegation. He said,
absolutely,
we would have battled relegation without Cristiano on why he's the most important player to Manchester United. Do you think that's true?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they're terrible. They're I can't tell you how many times he saved them by scoring late in games or setting. Here's the thing. He would have so many more points if he had other guys who could finish. He was so good moving the ball with assist-ready plays, honestly, and they just missed a wide-open net. I watch him all year. He's my favorite player, has been my favorite player for years. I feel bad for him playing for Manchester United. He needs to go somewhere else. And here's the thing. He's 37 years old. He's nowhere near what he used to be, but he's still one of the top 10 players in the world, in my opinion, still. He's not number one anymore, though. He's not number one anymore.
You don't think he's number one?
No, not anymore. He's not. He's not. He doesn't have the stamina. He has to pace himself more. He's 37. People forget how difficult it is to play soccer. Here's the thing. He's aged way better than Messi has. That much I can tell you.
I think Cristiano's still a guy who's unbelievable. Again, he's not the same way he used to be, but he's still unfreaking believable. He has set up more players on Manchester United than he has in years past, and they just freaking flub every single opportunity. They miss sitters left and right. He would have so much more point production and goal. What do they call it? They have a term for it. Goal touches or goal production than any other player would in the Premier League if they were finishing their chances and opportunities. Because he has been, I know it hasn't been as good as years past. He's still been phenomenal this season.
You remember when and we talked about on the show, him going to Man City. If he would have been on Man City, he would have won Player of the Year, and Man City would be in the Champions League final. If they had signed Cristiano Ronaldo, they would have won everything this year, Man City. Man City is another one of those teams that in the big moments kind of shrinks. He's an absolute winner and a leader. That's what he brings to teams, not just his talent, it's his work ethic. That's what he brings. He makes everybody else better because they say, holy shit, look at this guy. Look at how hard he works. We have to work that hard. He makes teams better around him. He just does.
In 30 games played this year, Cristiano Ronaldo had 21 goals/assists and won Player of the Month twice.
Yeah. And
hard not to include him on the finalist list, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, they don't like him either. So
you got Saka. I mean, plays a different position, plays more wing. And you got there for Southampton, James Ward Promise. I mean, he, different positions, but still, I'm just kind of shocked that he wasn't included on the list. I don't know.
It was him alone that got them out of the Champions League group stage. Him beating Atlanta with 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. I mean, the guy's still phenomenal. You just look at him. He's still tremendous. Is he what he was 5 years ago? No, he's not. But he's still, like I said, one of the top 10 players in the world, without a doubt, still.
Fantastic. Absolutely, he is, grumpy old man. Well, I wanted to bring that up. I figured you'd get a kick out of that, David De Gea. And I think David De Gea has had a fantastic year for them. I thought, he struggled before in years past, but I think he's had an excellent season for them this season.
I know people are getting on Cristiano early this year, the English press, because he was saying things about certain English players like, Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire sucks.
He's awful.
He sucks. And, then, of course, he was talking about some of the younger guys who don't want to listen when he's trying to tell them things they need to do to win, and they think they know better. And, it's like you look at Cristiano, and he will coach someday, and he'll be a really good coach too. When somebody like that, it's almost like Moses coming down from the mountain talking to you. And you're just like, yeah, I know better than you. I know I'm 19 or 20 years old, but yeah, okay, whatever, old man. I don't need your help. That's why Manchester United sucks.
Bruno Fernandes had a miserable second half of the year too. I'm talking about atrocious.
He's been bad all year. I don't think he's very good. So
I was about to say he's looked miserable. That's for certain. And think about how many penalties he's missed too. He takes the penalty opportunity from Cristiano. That's another thing too. Cristiano wasn't receiving as many penalty opportunities as he had in years past because he wasn't taking all of those. He was deferring to if Bruno Fernandes wanted. Okay, fantastic. How many penalties did Bruno Fernandes miss the freaking, not even hit the goddamn target from? What, 3 or 4 this year that he took over? Cristiano's a guarantee every time he gets a penalty. And he's missed about 3 or 4 of those. I'm like, dude, give up the freaking ball. Don't ever take another pen before Cristiano's still on the same freaking planet as you.
True. But they both are from Portugal, and Cristiano, he's a different player for Portugal than he is for his club teams. Absolutely. You look at his game, totally different.
Drill said, yep, Celtics are up 30 with 10 minutes left in the game, and it's all over, Johnny. It's all over, Johnny. It's over. Drill said, by the way here, does Cristiano Ronaldo keep looking younger? It's just age.
I'm going to say something. He has gotten skinnier and more lean the last couple of years, like Brady has too. If you look at Tom Brady, same thing. And I think when you get older, you have to do stuff like that to be able to play still at a high level. I mean, he's noticeably leaner this year. Cristiano is.
I'm scrolling through Instagram and seeing that Rashawn Slater is doing workouts in Bora Bora.
Wow.
Hey, as long as you're getting your work in, that's what matters, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's offensive linemen today are different than offensive linemen even 10 years ago, right? Bora
I was
Bora.
about to say, I don't think many offensive linemen are doing that. Now, talking about the relegation battle, Grump, I've got my Burnley kid on. Everton today won. They are safe from the relegation battle, right? They came in today. They were still in the mix. They went down early, 2-0 at halftime. They were down 2-0 at home to Crystal Palace. And Everton came back to win 3-2. It's the first time they've come back to win after being down 2 goals or more at halftime in over 20 years, I believe, or at like 2 decades or near 2 decades, a little more than 2 decades, around 20 years. And Everton avoids the drop zone. They are officially safe from relegation now, Grump.
Good for them. Good for them. I have no problem with that.
On other news, we got Burnley and Leeds are fighting it out this Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every single team plays at the same time. So there's a few things that could happen. You know, if both teams draw, Burnley will advance on goal differential. They are tied in points. So I'll tell you, it is going to be, I'm nervous already, Grump. I'm going to be sitting on pins and needles until Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time because the Burnley Clarets, man, I tell you, if they lose, they play Newcastle at home, Burnley does, and you've got Leeds playing Brentford on the road. If Leeds lose, no matter what happens, Burnley will stay out of the relegation zone. If Leeds tie and Burnley loses, Burnley will be sent down.
So all Burnley needs to do is win a game. Are they capable of that? You're a fan of theirs. Are they capable of it?
Well,
that's a no.
Newcastle's damn good. Newcastle, since the second half of the year, has been one of, I think their top, if you look at the points they've had since the January transfer window, they're top 4 in points in the Premier League since the January transfer window.
So that oil money. That oil money really helps. Don't be surprised if Newcastle makes a huge jump next year.
I was about to say Newcastle will elevate themselves to a team that's, I think, at least competing, if not for Europa League, maybe Champions League next year because of how much money they can dump into that team.
Big money, right? Stealing players from other organizations. That's all you got to do.
Well, what happens? The other organization gets paid that money and they could use that to buy other players. Right? It's a little different with the NCAA. I just think a certain portion that should go to the other team. I'm not kidding. I've already made the freaking point a million times. But this on Sunday morning, Sunday 11 a.m. is going to be something else, grumpy old man. You've got 2 teams. Jesse Marsh, the American coach for Leeds United, is going to be trying to win. I mean, right? I think what happens if Leeds wins, Grumpy? If Leeds win and Burnley draw, Leeds survives.
Winning, you're in. That's why I look at it. Winning, you're in.
These are teams at the
Burnley,
bottom of the table.
winning, you're in. That's all they got to do, right? That's not what the coach be preaching. Hey, we win, we're in. Let's play like our hair's on fire. Let's win.
Well, you want to play safe. You want to make sure that you don't lose, right? It just comes down to what's your appetite for risk. Do you say we're going to play a more defensive style and we want to make sure we at least get a draw? I mean, for Leeds, right? I think Leeds has to play to win. They can't play to draw because if Burnley draws, they're out. Their goal differential is like -20 lower than Burnley's is. So they have got to, and I mean absolutely have to win Leeds because if they want to survive.
I think they're going to be a lot of scoreboard watching. If, let's say, Leeds goes up by a goal, Burnley's going to have to say, okay, we got to put our foot on the gas. They can't play for a tie if Leeds has a lead. And vice versa, the same thing, right? If Burnley goes up for a goal, I mean, Leeds can't play for a tie. Leeds has to play for a win.
I was about to say, Leeds definitely does have to play for a win.
Yeah. But I mean, well, it'll be interesting. Again, the only thing that would have been better if they both would have played one another.
Christ almighty. And well, they played one another, right? A tie means that Leeds lost, so Leeds would have had to win.
Yeah. Leeds can score, though. They just concede a lot of goals.
Leeds conceded the most goals. They would, if they survive this year, they will have conceded the most goals out of any team to survive a Premier League drop. So they've got one of the worst goal differences too. If they were to survive, they would have received the most penalties, the most cards as well. if they do survive. I'm telling you, you want to talk about, this is the first time in a while we've been in a situation where the relegation battle goes down right to the last day. And here's the other thing too. If Aston Villa beats or draws Man City and Liverpool wins, right? Liverpool wins the title.
Who's playing Manchester City?
Aston Villa.
But
Steven Gerrard is the manager there with Aston Villa. Oh, wouldn't he love to send the Liverpool side into the champion to win the championship?
Okay. Burnley drew with Aston Villa today. Okay. Manchester City, this is the only thing they have to play for is to win league title. They're going to kill Aston Villa on Sunday. Kill them.
You think so?
Absolutely. That game won't be close. 3-0, 4-1. It won't be close.
Okay. And here's the thing: even if they draw, well, the goal difference is pretty severe. So technically, right, you could have a playoff. People have been pushing this out. If Aston Villa manages to draw Manchester City and Liverpool wins by 6 or 7 goals, technically the Premier League title will go to a playoff between Manchester City and Liverpool.
Okay. Liverpool has bigger fish to fry. They have Champions League next Saturday. Champions League title, them against Real Madrid. That's the big one. That's the big one.
I think Liverpool fans want to see them win.
Well, of course they do. They're Liverpool.
Okay, let me rephrase that, because that was ultimately really vague and a bad job wording it. I think the fans, and I think that means more. As weird as it sounds, I don't know why it's a debate, but people want to win the Premier League title more than they want to win Champions League.
I don't think winning the league is anywhere near as important as winning Champions League. That's the best of Europe. Champions League is the best of Europe.
But I do want to show this up. Drew L says here, did you guys see the video of the first ambidextrous quarterback?
No.
I've got a video of him. Now, it's worth to say he's not going D1. They said he's receiving interest, or he's talking to Division I programs. So got to take that with a grain of salt. Who knows how good this kid is? He started on varsity as a freshman. Doesn't mean he's going to go D1. But his name is Mikey Gow, and I'll let you watch. It's kind of weird. It's odd. It's very off-putting to watch him do what he does, because it's impressive, but it's kind of like, ooh, that doesn't look right.
This might be.
Let me go ahead. I'll lower this right here. I don't need to listen to this guy.
Does he play? So he was varsity high school quarterback?
Yeah, he's in high school. He's in class of 2025.
Well, can I just say, I've never seen them play with 2 balls at one time. So I don't think this is a skill set that translates. Maybe you might see if he's flushed out of a pocket and he can throw with the other arm, but I'm sure there's one. Obviously, he's better right-handed than left-handed. I can do that too, by the way, just to let you know.
Oh, stop.
I'm saying I can throw with both arms. I'm much better throwing right-handed than left-handed, but I absolutely can throw pitch with both arms.
Okay. I will.
I can't throw the ball. I can't throw a ball 50, and neither can he, honestly. He's obviously right-handed.
Yes.
Right.
He is right-handed.
Yeah.
I think it's neat and interesting. People say, oh, could this, and the video is like, oh, could this be a game breaker? Could he revolutionize the sport? I'm like, dude, come on, stop. What you're going to see here is a guy, they're going to have him throw with a more dominant hand. I will tell you one thing, though. It means that you could feel comfortable rolling out either which way if a guy can throw left-handed and right-handed. So that makes you, a little bit more of a viable option. But he doesn't have any scholarship offers. I mean, again, you can't commit when you're that young, but you see sometimes where it's like, oh, my 12-year-old's been offered a scholarship to play at Oregon, or oh, they're offering him an early scholarship. There are guys in the 2025 that they've offered non-committable scholarships to. So, if he was really good, they would have been offering him scholarships like that already. He is receiving, interest, but, interest only means interest.
Okay, he's throwing the ball 10 or 12 yards with his left arm. His arm's not that good. And here's the thing. His arm ain't that good throwing right-handed either.
Oh, come on.
I mean, it's better than he throws left-handed, but his left-handed throws are all short. He's a natural righty. That's what he is.
Don't pick the kid apart like that. He's throwing the ball.
I'm not picking him apart. There's a reason why he's not getting any D1 scholarships.
Okay, you don't know that yet.
How old is he?
Not yet. It's early yet. He's only, I think, going to be a sophomore this next year. He's in the class of 2025.
Okay. And where does he play? What state?
I couldn't even tell you.
I'm just looking. It's a pretty big field for a high school.
He plays in Nebraska.
Ugh, okay. Maybe Nebraska, maybe NU will give him a scholarship offer.
He's in Nebraska. Hold a second here. He's received interest. He's in the class. He's 170 pounds. He is skinny, 6'1". He's made a lot of unofficial visits, but they can't have official visits technically until you're at least a junior. So he's not eligible for any of those just quite yet. But yeah, he'll be a sophomore next year. It's still early yet. I'd like to see a guy like that succeed and do well. But it's like, when you see the videos, like the viral compilations of it's like, oh man, this kid's going to be, he's averaging 50 points a game or something like that. And the guy's like 5'10", and, he doesn't translate to college. So it's one of those two. So I'll be interested to see. Hopefully he's successful. It's the first time. It's really odd to watch him throw with both hands like that. So I did think that was odd. He's, very nimble out there too, but I thought that thank you, Drew L, for bringing it up. And Joseph C said, I believe some of what JJ Redick has to say. As great as Wilt and Bill were, they wouldn't have dominated against guys like Shaq, Ewing, Elijah Wan, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Moses Malone, etc.
Yeah. All right. They're right up there with all those guys. I mean, I actually saw them play. They were really good. Russell.
About Shaq, right, Grumpy?
What?
You know what I say about Shaq, right, Grumpy?
You think he's the greatest of all time, greatest center
I
ever?
think he's the greatest in his prime, the greatest center that's ever played.
Here's the thing. Kareem was better than him.
Bullshit.
Oh, you're wrong. Kareem was – you never saw Kareem play. Certainly not.
I want to get JJ to weigh in.
That freaking sky hook.
Weigh in on this.
That sky hook was not defendable. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook was not defendable. Could not defend it. And he played defense.
Shaq was played defense.
Please. I'm not saying Shaq's dunk. Everything with Shaq is a dunk. He's not shooting outside shots.
You're driving and dunking on guys. You're drawing fouls too. You go ahead and put the other center in foul trouble.
He would have fouled out. He would have fouled out against Kareem. He would have because Kareem had moves. Kareem could dribble. Shaq could not guard Kareem. He could not guard Kareem. Absolutely could never guard him.
I don't think Kareem could guard Shaq.
He absolutely could.
Oh, stop.
Okay. Forget it. Because you don't know anything about what basketball used to be. There were really a lot of good centers. It was a different game back then, too.
It was.
Even the last 10 years, the game has changed. You're not seeing a whole lot of true centers anymore. Big men dominated the game. This is before three-point shots.
Yep.
You understand?
Yeah, absolutely. But Grumpy, we're here toward the tail end. What do you want to say before we wrap this podcast up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. Thank
you, everybody, for listening. If you're new to the show, welcome. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Also, right, want to show you this here too. Make sure you support the Burnley Clarets this Sunday at 11. That's all I'm going to say. Drew L says, TJ, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to agree with Grump on Kareem. Shaq always struggled against Yao Ming every time he played against him.
And Yao Ming doesn't hold a candle. Kareem was so good. Chamberlain was so good. Bill Russell, not an offensive force, but tremendous defensively. Just absolutely tremendous defensively. He would always beat Chamberlain. He had better players around him, but he was always good in the big moments, coming up big. That's what makes a winner in my book. Coming up big in the big moments. Not Chris Paul. Bill Russell, yes. Bob Cousy, yes.
Paul, baby. Fantastic superstar.
Yeah, true.
Oh, man. But Grump, thanks so much for being a part of the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys. Grumpy, are we going to do one Sunday evening?
It's up to you.
Okay.
We'll see. You know what? I don't know.
We'll play it by ear. We might be on Sunday. I know we won't be doing our Saturday podcast for the hockey. We may be on Sunday on this. It'll be up in the air. If we do, you'll know. We'll post it.
I'm going to say probably not.
Okay. Sunday. Then we will not be doing one on Sunday then.
Yeah.
Or Grump. If we make any decisions, we'll be on, but keep your heads on a swivel for those notifications. Make sure the notification bell is turned on too, guys. Sure. But thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you, Grumpy.
My pleasure.